We were wrong, Tony. We were just straight up, you especially, but I was also a little wrong. In January, we made a podcast about AI and we said it was going to take a while for it to get here. And we were so wrong because between January and now, just a few short months, it's already changed so much. AI is here. It's here to stay. It's changing photography.
Photographers and models have already lost their jobs.
I think it's here to stay, and I don't want you to get left behind. So we're going to tell you how to integrate it into your photography and where we think it's going.
First, one of the best ways you can improve your photography career or videography career is to set up your own portfolio off of social media. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea. Set up a beautiful website that reflects your own sense of style, your own brand, and bring customers into something you own. They can book appointments, they can leave deposits, they could buy prints from you. It's all possible at squarespace.com/Chelsea. Try it out completely free, no credit card. And when you love it, the coupon code Chelsea will get you 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace.
Let's get into our wrongness, Tony. We tried AI and we just thought it didn't look very real. It was in the uncanny valley.
Yeah, this is like 3 months ago.
It was very glitchy. Things were coming out just kind of silly looking, and it was cool, but I just thought, I think this will take a while before we really integrate this.
Yeah, I've been in tech my whole life, and I'm always trying to make predictions on when things will come about. And I think I said, maybe in 5 years this is going to be useful.
That was a big mistake.
It was 3 months. 3 months that it took to make a new version of Midjourney, the only real AI imaging app that I consider to be useful at this point. Midjourney has existed for 1 year. Version 1 was released in March of 2022. Version 5 Alpha, March of 2023. And I generated a bunch of images with both engines using the exact identical prompts. These are the results. And look at that drastic difference. Can you imagine anything learning in 1 year? What app, what code, what camera, what electronics device improved this much over the course of 1 year?
It's incredible. Look at the eagle on the left. It's like pretty disturbing and upsetting. And the one on the right, I think, passes at a glance.
Yeah, the grip isn't quite right. If you really squint, you can notice some tiny little flaws, but it is good. It is real good, and most people will not notice.
This one's especially very good. So we've seen huge leaps. As you can see, this is applicable now. People can use this. And so we want to talk about how people are using it, how it can benefit you as a photographer, and how to integrate it into your workflow if you want to, so that you don't get left behind, because we've seen these changes in photography before. But let's just first start by saying that Midjourney is not perfect. AI is not perfect. It still has flaws.
Yeah, here in April 2023, there's no free trial, so you have to pay for it. We both subscribed, and we're using that like crazy because we made like 100 images.
It's fun.
And it can't handle text, I think, is the single biggest flaw. So anytime you render a product that might have a brand name on it, or you made some movie posters, the text is not good.
This is my movie poster for a karate hamster that likes to steal cheese that I was going to call Ham and Cheese.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that good?
Uh-huh.
And look at the text. It says like, Hasati, Miyasi, Hasmi. And my favorite, Fama Miisi. So the words, it's still not great at generating text, which is funny because we have like Chat GPT that could generate text.
Yeah.
But this does not do that.
There are other AI engines that do generate text. I think Stable Diffusion, you can give it text and put this text on a sign or a menu or something, and it can do that.
But I think Midjourney could change this tomorrow.
Yeah, that's probably a version 6 thing. A tool I think will be important to portrait photographers is the ability to take a source image and accurately reflect that person in an AI-generated image. So you could take a snapshot of somebody and put them on a beach in Morocco. So I fed it an AI image of me and asked it to make a portrait of me in front of a wall of vintage cameras, and this is what it produced. And
other guy?
It kind of like me though, right?
No.
I was not even wearing glasses in the original picture, but the hair is kind of the same, the skin tone is the same, but it's like a male model plus me. And it's interesting because AI is clearly using images that are on the web, and there's a disproportionate number of images of models posing. So right now, everything kind of gets blended with a model. So it's weird.
I wouldn't complain about that for me.
Well, here you go. Because I had it generate wedding images for us. We did not get pictures of our wedding because we eloped and did it on a beach. And as a result, 2 photographers did not get proper pictures. And at some point, AI is going to be able to make wedding pictures for us.
But that is not us.
but this is not us. But you can see what it was doing.
I look better, though.
Most people would take a glance at this and think that it was real.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty uncanny. It's just not us. But version 6, version 7, which is going to be 3 or 6 months from now, will probably be doing it accurately.
I also think AI does not understand some things about being a human that are subtle. Like, that's too many birds. I'm uncomfortable. What's going on?
At some point, you're cowering and you don't want to be pooped on.
It's like a horror movie. And then also there's someone in the background photobombing you, but you would edit that out of a wedding photo. And there's like barriers in the background for a parking lot or something. So it's like AI knows those things exist, but it doesn't know that humans would not want them in their wedding photos. I have to say, we've been talking about Midjourney, and I want to make the point that not all AI is equal. I found that Midjourney produced the best results, but was the most difficult to sign up for, and you had to pay for version 5, the better version. But I thought DALL-E worked pretty well, but you can see the difference. Midjourney version 5, I put in the same prompt for a Joshua tree in front of a sunset, and you can see that like DALL-E is okay, but not as stunning as the Midjourney one.
But if you put it in a person's face or something, Midjourney leaves it all behind. Like DALL-E looks terrible with that kind of thing. Yeah. Though I noticed your Midjourney picture has a watermark on it.
Yeah.
Again, it's stealing watermarked pictures, and so it keeps adding in watermarks and images.
It's not good at
not cool.
Hiding, stealing. It's been caught red-handed. In January, when we made our podcast, I thought that it was a long way off that people would be using it in a practical way, even though I knew some photographers who were using it a bit. I want to talk to you about the ways that photographers are using it right now, because I've seen it become far more prevalent with well-known photographers. So one thing that photographers are doing is they are rendering details for photos. They're rendering birds and putting them into the background. They're rendering like a field of flowers or different clouds or a different sky, and then they're comping it in. So we've been doing this type of comping for a very long time. But I have done comping by buying stock photos and comping it in, or by going through my own photos and finding something that I'd like to put into another photo. So this is already happening a lot. I rendered this dove, and it's not that easy. It took like 15 minutes and 6 different tries to get this dove, which Tony pointed out has 2 sets of wings. I didn't notice that.
It's funny how you don't notice stuff.
And I rendered it into this photo. It's a quick job. I'm not saying this is gorgeous, but you can see how it would be used. Another way that photographers are using AI in a practical way is to test ideas for a photo shoot. So we've been taking pictures of our car, and they're not quite coming out the way that we want them to. So I went into Midjourney and I rendered an idea for a rainy day shoot, and this came out. Now I really want to take pictures of our car on a rainy day with the headlights on.
Right, and I did some too, and I found a nice fog in the background is nice, so we have to kind of have a fog plan. I also want to point out, if you look at the picture, it can't manage to render the Porsche name on the back of the car or the license plate, but everything else is like literally perfect.
Yeah.
But it just comes to some letters and it's like, I have no idea.
Another way that photographers are using it is by rendering props. So let's say you want to do a photo shoot and you want a flower crown. You know, that's actually quite expensive. If you went to a florist, it could be over $100. So you go into Midjourney and you render one there, and then you add it. And that's what I did in this picture. I did these very quickly to show you an example without using other people's pictures.
Another possibility is to give Midjourney your original picture, and you can control it with the parameter IW, which is image weight. And that tells it, take this image and then either use it as a little bit of inspiration or stick very closely to the original image. So here I pass it that same picture, and I told it to stick closely to the original image, but add in some birds and a lighthouse. And this is the image that came back. All the same elements are there, and in fact it's like a little bit more perfect. Like the dress is a little bit more sheer. The angle is pretty much the same, but
it's better.
It is better. The lighting is better. The lighthouse looks good.
Yeah, the birds look weird.
It's not good at birds yet.
It's failing the bird community.
There's still some room for improvement.
What I'm hearing a lot in the photo community is that photographers are pushing back against this. I've heard people say that it's not real photography, that it's cheating, that they don't like it, and I think that's all understandable. I've been through all of those feelings, I think. But I've been talking to other photographers, and one thing that someone brought up was that it really is kind of the same as other photography technology that we've seen in the past. So think about when the camera first came out and it wasn't really respected because it wasn't a painting and people didn't think it was real art. And then when we went from film to digital, people did not think digital photography was valid. They thought film was real photography, digital wasn't valid. In fact, recently in our DP review video, you said that you went to DP review because other photo communities and forums were saying that digital photographers weren't valid. So you went to digital photography forums specifically. So we've seen, it's a tale as old as time. The same with darkroom to Photoshop. People didn't respect Photoshop. They thought it was cheating.
The same with traditional cameras to smartphone cameras. A lot of people watching this still don't consider smartphone photographers real photographers.
Manual focus versus AF versus IAF versus high frame rates, people making fun of spray and pray. My point to you being this might feel icky and fake because we've been doing photography for a while, but I really think it's just going to become a part of photography forever. And that we can either figure out what's going on and try to learn or get left behind and become one of those curmudgeonly old photographers that's like, that's not real. And I want to try it out and see if I like it. What's the harm of trying?
We've talked a lot about still photography, but recently AI video has been in the news a lot. Like there was a short movie, 10 minutes long, called Last Stand, that was presented as an AI movie. I dug into it. I found out the video itself was not rendered by AI. And in fact, AI video, I think, is still, I want to say several years away. It's nowhere near ready yet because it is exponentially more difficult because video requires 30 pictures per second instead of just one picture period, because it requires object persistence and permanence between those separate frames.
Like continuity too, like someone drinking a glass of water. It could turn into coffee with AI or something.
Yeah, and if somebody turns their head, you need them to have the same face throughout the entire thing. And that's actually, these are really big challenges. So it is exponentially harder than creating a single still image.
So we should come back in 3 months and say how we were wrong about this or what?
It's a distinct possibility. But this is reassuring for people making their living as a professional videographer because you are safe for the time being. If a restaurant needs a video of somebody pouring wine, you cannot replicate that with AI at this moment. You need to go actually hire somebody to capture that video. There is an exception. There are many companies, at least 8 or so, that are doing talking head AI video that seems to render perfectly. So what you can do, you can create a text prompt or have AI generate a block of text for you, something that you want a person to read on video. And AI will have an avatar that looks exactly human, and you can pick from 100 avatars and 100 voices and match them up, and it will speak it, and it can translate it into different languages. And in this way, you could essentially, instead of hiring an actor to read your corporate training monologue, you would have AI generate it in just a couple of minutes at a small fraction of the cost. So that aspect for both actors and videographers and audio people and video editors, that is already going away rapidly.
I think we think about what's going away, but that also means that there are job opportunities because, like I said, making that simple, ugly dove with 2 sets of wings took me 15 minutes. Trying to refine the idea for a photo can take you hours. And if you go into Midjourney, it's set up like a chat room, kind of, a forum in real time, and you're seeing people put in their prompts, and then it's generating their photos. So it's kind of like a group effort. You're seeing what words they're using that are working for their pictures, but you're also seeing that they're building something brick by brick, almost like a little Lego castle or something. This word worked, this one didn't, and people are in there for hours creating one image. My point being that if it's a skill and it takes time to create something beautiful, in the future we may see people who are AI prop creators. And it takes so much time, it might not really be your thing as a photographer to make AI props. You might hire someone else, pay $10 for the flower crown in AI instead of $100 to a florist. So it's just something to think about, a possibility. You know what is so easy to make that you don't need to hire anyone?
I can't imagine.
I can imagine. It's a Squarespace portfolio. We have them for our photos, but people use them for other websites as well, whether it be your business, if you're a dentist, a contractor, whatever. It's so easy. You can drag and drop into their beautiful templates and make a professional looking website. I have galleries. I have places where my clients can proof their photos and tell me which ones that they like. And it's just fun to do, honestly, and it's totally free to try it. You don't have to believe me. Get the 14-day free trial, no credit card needed. Drag in some photos. You're gonna be like, dang, am I a pro? Because this looks so good. Thank you, Chelsea. Hallelujah. I hope you get your coupon code. We don't make money from the coupon code, but it makes me look good. Get 10% off with the coupon code Chelsea when you buy it. And that just tells Squarespace we're doing a good job. Thanks, Squarespace. They're going to love it.
I put you all to a test on my Instagram. I put up 3 pictures. 2 of them were generated by AI, and one of them was a real photo, albeit a Photoshop composite. It's the cover to our Photoshop book. But the model is real, and her actual frame itself wasn't much changed. We took out some footsteps in the sand. We added a little bit of splash to the water, and the most Photoshop part is actually the dress itself.
Yeah, I will also say I didn't do a great job comping the dress, so.
Yeah, but it's not AI.
No.
It is made of real images. And I wanted to see what people's responses to this were. How many people would detect the AI? Would they have feelings? Like, would they be upset about that?
Yeah.
And what I found was surprising. First, I asked people what their favorite image was, and 2 out of 3 people picked one of the AI images.
How dare you?
Right, and it does go to show you, we put a lot of work into this picture. We hired a model, we got down to the beach at sunrise. She was extremely cold walking into the water. We bought a dress, we had her hair and makeup done. It was a lot of work, and it took me just a few minutes to generate an image that 2 out of 3 people liked better. So it felt a little deflating to me.
Don't feel deflated.
I will say about 8% of people in the comments mentioned something about them being AI. But my audience is not a random sampling of people on the planet. It is mostly photographers who follow us, who have probably seen our previous podcasts on AI. So they are particularly attuned, and I still think that's a pretty small number. So to me, that means the vast majority of people will simply appreciate a picture and not know or think about it being made by AI. Of those people who identified some as AI, they also thought the second image was AI, which it was definitely not. So about 2% of people thought they had a false positive. Mm-hmm. And about 2% of people just said something mean. That's not relevant. I just want to say some people are mean.
It's more than 2% of people, but I think you got a pretty good ratio on that.
I think this means we need a system to prove authentic images. And we'll get to some widespread AI images that have been published by big national news agencies recently. I was a nerd. I am a nerd. There is an easy solution for this, at least technically easy.
Look at the shirt you're wearing. I was a nerd.
This was featured on the IT Guys show. That's why I ordered this. It's a doubly nerdy shirt. So cryptography, public key cryptography, we use that to generate digital signatures for images when the camera captures them. So there'll be a private key embedded in every camera device, smartphones, real cameras, and when an image is captured, it will be tagged with that digital signature. And as long as that image remains intact, it can be validated by using the digital signature, which has a hash of the image in it. We create a system where HEF files or whatever can contain some metadata for that digital signature, as well as simple edits like give it a crop, brightness, contrast, saturation, so that the final image can be displayed in a meaningful way, but still authenticated by the device that has received and is displaying that image, which that could be the Instagram app itself, or it could be an iPhone, depending on how they decide to implement that. And this way, real images that haven't had substantial edits could have a check mark on them, and you would know that it was a real image.
That'd be good when, like, for journalistic purposes and documenting. It also might be good for knowing what someone actually looks like, because the AI we're talking about seems super advanced, but think about every beauty filter online where I've seen people take them off during the video to demonstrate how much they change a person, and they're almost unrecognizable, which means like you're going to look back at pictures of your family and they're going to be some weird mutated version.
And people as a whole hate that. And every time filters come out, there's another group of people who rebel against that, and they want no makeup pictures.
Yeah.
And if we had a system for showing that things were authentic, I think most people would want that. They would want that check mark on their authentic pictures, on their selfies on social media. And suddenly we'd be looking at real humans again. This is possible, but we need a committee to actually form. Like maybe it's the IEEE, or somebody needs to actually, it could be ISO, somebody needs to create this system so that we can view authentic images once again.
Well, people have other concerns about this because a bunch of experts in AI and Elon Musk and Wozniak, they came forward and said that they wanted to put a 6-month pause on AI because they felt like everybody needed time to think about what kind of rules or regulations should be put in place around AI and what we should and shouldn't do with it. And like basically a lot of people think that it's not going to happen. This pause is impossible. We don't really have time to keep up with legislation and laws anyway. It's just like happening.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that people are concerned about what could happen and if we can keep up as people to this technology that we're creating.
I absolutely think we cannot. I would love to pause it. I wish government could move faster because I do believe strongly it needs regulation, but it's not happening right now.
No.
I want to talk about how this has already impacted the industry. I thought it would soon be impacting the industry, but in my news feed, I'm already seeing more and more of the thumbnail images are AI generated. And right now it's probably 1 in 10, but I would bet in 6 months it's going to be 50% are AI generated images as opposed to real images. And several companies like fashion stores and fashion brands have announced that they are using AI to generate their images, which means they're not hiring photographers, they're not hiring models. One of them had the gall to pat themselves on the back for increasing their diversity because they were going to be using AI to render
People of color.
people of color.
Oh.
But so like they increased diversity, but still managed to not hire people of color.
Yeah, they still aren't getting paid. I'm sure they're thrilled.
Yeah, no kidding. And we've also seen several AI-generated images be accepted as genuine and be viewed by millions of people.
I fell
AI
for the
images
Pope
have gone
one.
viral, right? The Pope in the puffy jacket.
I thought he just got swagged out. I was like, dang.
As I look at it, it looks flawless. And right now, I showed that AI cannot replicate a portrait of a civilian like me, but it renders shockingly accurate images of just about any celebrity, including the Pope, including, here's an image of Donald Trump getting arrested, which was widespread, even though to me, I immediately saw this as AI. It has like a waxy characteristic to it.
Yeah, it looks fake.
But it won't look fake in 3 months because we've seen the rate of progress, right? I just saw this. Elon Musk is known for having, like his father owned an emerald mine, and people criticize him for that. And somebody published this image of him sitting on an emerald throne. And a lot of people forwarded this as if it was genuine, but it's definitely an AI-generated image. So we can see that AI is being used to mislead people, to tear down characters, and that is very bad. And again, we desperately need a system to authenticate images.
It is, but let's go back to the times when photojournalists staged entire photo shoots anyway.
Yeah.
And we did a really big podcast about that, how Sharbat Gula, the Afghan girl, they said that she was an orphan. And she wasn't. They pulled her out of school and made up a whole story for her. She didn't even want her picture taken. The whole thing was a sham.
Yeah.
So like, same as it ever was.
Well, you're absolutely right that this has been happening in different ways from the beginning of time. And there is, even if you capture a real image, it doesn't mean the story behind it is real. So maybe it's not that big of a leap. Maybe it's even that our eyes are open now and we are being forced to question everything that we see, and maybe that is good. AI right now does impose some limits, at least Midjourney does. You can't do anything violent. I wanted to make a thumbnail for artificial intelligence is killing photography, and it wouldn't let me use the word kill, and it threatened to ban me.
You're too controversial.
I tried to say destroying or smashing. None of those things can be done.
Midjourney never told me I was too violent for their platform.
But it scares me when important limits like that are imposed by corporations without any sort of regulation, because who here trusts corporations? I do not trust corporations. Corporations do what is in their best interests. It is the role of the government to actually look out for the citizens, right?
Maybe.
But the government does not move fast enough. The government is very slow, and this is happening at incredible speed. So it is going to go out of control. Also, there's going to be people at the corporation who hack it, who make a copy of it and remove the limitations. There's massive amount of corruptions in corporations. So this is definitely going to go out of control.
We're going to have some interesting news stories coming up about that. People have talked about what if AI killed photography. Maybe those people were us in January. I honestly can't remember. But one thing we were talking about today that was interesting is that AI functions, let's say hypothetically, it does kill photography. No one's taking pictures anymore. Where do the source photos come from? It just keeps recycling old stuff. At some point, it's going to get dated. So let's say it just keeps cycling pictures of the Eiffel Tower and something happens to it. It changes. Maybe it won't be updating it in the correct way.
Yeah, like you had some car pictures in there. What about when there's a 2025 model and it's completely different? Somebody has to take a physical portrait, a physical picture of that new model for AI to learn what that model looks like, because it can't go out in the world and it can't get real images. It won't see fashion trends change. It won't see haircuts change.
It won't see biodiversity change. So I was giving the example, we like to take wildlife pictures and I take bird pictures, and I saw some sick birds when we were out taking pictures. I took pictures of the sick birds. I sent them to the Department of Environmental Protection locally, tagged the location of the sick birds, and then they go out and help them. My point being, if there's some widespread bird sickness like there has been in the past, photographers were a crucial part of documenting that, because real photography is about documentation often. So if we're not having those source photos for documentation, AI could kind of warp our perspective of our world and kind of put in this gap between us and what's really happening.
There's also the problem, which seems inevitable, of an AI feedback loop, where if AI becomes even moderately popular, it's going to start seeing AI images and not knowing that they're AI and using those to feed itself. And so you have almost like an inbreeding scenario where little flaws would become exaggerated. And of course, it would be learning from the images that people decided to choose and share. So people's preferences would start to become stronger and stronger in this feedback loop.
Everything could be karate hamster. We just don't know. But this is all doom and gloom, but let's talk about if it could help photographers, because I do think that it can. And one thing that I was excited about is that I think it breaks down barriers and it breaks down a lot of gatekeeping. So going into a studio, having props, having professional models, all those things cost a lot of money, but also you have to be in the right location, and you have to have access to certain people, certain resources. With AI, if you are a photographer in a country with not one single model, you might be able to render one. Or if you want a specific car in the background and you just don't have the funds for that prop, you could render one. Like I was saying earlier, if you couldn't afford flower crowns or certain dresses, you could render one. And so now we're giving access to more glamorous photos to people that can't afford physical props, physical studios, things like that. I think that's a good thing. So we were wrong in January. Tell us what we're wrong about today, because I'm sure that we are. Maybe you have your foot in AI more than us. What's going on there? What do you think is changing? How do you think it will be used? And do you see the pros and cons? We're curious to hear your insight.
I want to add, some people are mad at me for publicizing AI. They feel like I am helping to push it along by giving it a voice. But I feel like I'm the weatherman saying a tornado is coming at you, and like I can't stop the tornado. I'm definitely not speeding up the tornado. We are just reporting what we see happening.
I think maybe we're advertising it a little bit unintentionally. Like, I'm sure someone watching will try it because we're talking about it. But I also think that the people we're talking to are more informed, and that they're going to be trying it, if they're listening to this podcast, from an educated point of view. So,
and I hope we help people recognize AI images, because knowing the difference between truth and fiction is going to be increasingly difficult but important.
Yeah. All right, give us your thoughts. And also, just this is what you need to do. You need to go to squarespace.com. You need to sign up for the 14-day free trial. Pull in your regular photos, pull in your AI photos, have the first ever portfolio for AI prop creation. It's going to be free for 14 days. And then when you decide to buy it, you can use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace, and thanks to all of you for watching. If you want to see more episodes of They Pictured This Photography Podcast, go to wherever your podcasts are available, or you can subscribe to our playlist on YouTube so you see every single new podcast as we publish it.
Thanks. Bye.